by these sessions of Imam Rida with all those different ideologies that he came in contact with. From his position as the Wali Ahad, Imam Rida was able to provide a service to the Shias. You have to realize that throughout the life of his father and throughout his own life up until this time, members of Ahlul Bayt, their followers are still under threat. They're being killed, they're being destroyed, they're being imprisoned, they're being tortured. With Imam Reza becoming Wali Ahad, a lot of this open oppression dies down. And you see that through this position of Imam Reza that he's given by this Mal'oon government, Imam Reza is able to do so much good for the Shia community and for the Shia ideology. Just one example. At the beginning of the Imamat of Imam Reza, many other groups of Shias, Zaydis included, were revolting against the government. By the end of the Imamat of Imam Reza, most of these groups had been incorporated into Ithna Ashari Shia, simply on the activities of Imam Reza. That in his meetings with these people, debates and dialogues with people, and then also the manifestation of his own character, his own knowledge, his own piety. You see that by the end of his imamat, these other Shia groups, Zaydis included, other groups included, so many little groups of different people who are following this Imam, that Imam. Some of them said Imam Musa Kazim is the Mahdi, and they were following him. He's not dead, he's still alive. These type of things. Most of these people are incorporated into Shia Ithna Ashari by the end of the Imamat of Imam Rida. So in his Imamat we see an ideological strengthening and also a strengthening of numbers, that these fringe groups are virtually eliminated and they come into the fold of real Islam, Tashayyu, Ithna Ashari, by the end of his Imamat. What are we trying to say by this? The life of Imam Rida is an example to us that while helping the oppressors to do oppression is haram, and while assisting them to be tyrants is absolutely forbidden, in many cases it's the Muslim's duty to get involved, to put himself in a position where he can advise, where he can influence. Now this can only be done when organization and leadership exists. And so therefore we have some steps to go through. But it's definitely something for us to look at and to consider, that from the example of Imam Rida, perhaps those people who are saying that it's haram to become a policeman are wrong. Maybe what we need in America is more Muslim policemen. Maybe their position that to join in the government and to become a congressman or a councilman or an assemblyman, maybe their position that this is haram. Maybe their position is wrong. And in fact, it may be your wazifa to involve yourself if you're a lawyer, if you're a political activist, if you're some sort of someone that feels that their calling is in public service. And perhaps we should begin having this discussion in America based on the example of Imam Rida, based on the example of his followers, based on the circumstances during his time, that this may support that it's halal and maybe even wajib that we should get involved at least to some degree, so that the hujjat is being done on these people. That it's not in our interest to sit back and don't be involved, because you know what? It makes it easier for them to define you, to label you, or to disappear you if such a thing should come. That if you're not involved in your community, if you're not involved in your society, and the NSA shows up at your house one day and drags you away, your neighbors won't say anything. And in fact, they might be like, we always knew something was funny about them. They never used to come and talk to us. They never used to say hello to us. They never used to invite us over. Something was strange about them, and now they're in Guantanamo. Praise the Lord. In fact, perhaps we should have a greater interaction with the society based on the example of Imam Rida, based on the example of his followers. Because when you find that you put yourselves in these positions, now your voice is listened to. Your influence is accepted. And your position is more difficult to erode and to destroy and to take away. For as long as we remain outsiders, for as long as we don't involve ourselves, that is as long as our position in the country will remain in danger. And when we can step forward and live according to the example of the Imams, perhaps we can do a great service to Islam. One of the biggest needs that we have in achieving this, though, is the organization and the leadership that is necessary to achieve this. None of these things that we're discussing that happened in the time of Imam Rida, or could even happen now, would ever happen without organization and would ever happen without leadership. And we need our leaders to step forward and to address these issues in a common sense and practical way, especially taking into consideration our current affairs and our current position in the country. But we see from the example of Imam Rida that through his active involvement, what he creates is a new dynamic. And just in finishing up, Ma'mun wanted to discredit the Imam. So his plan was that when he says, "This is my Wali Ahad," everybody will look at Imam Rida and say, "Oh, you've sold out. You've sold out now. Now you're with the bad guys' team. Now you're on their side." And he was hoping that the people would look at Imam Rida and say, "You've become a zalim now also." But thanks to the work of all of those Imams before Imam Rida, raising the level of the population, raising the understanding, the ma'rifat of the Shias, that by the time Imam Rida is offered the Wali Ahad, and the reaction of Imam Rida to that offering of the Wali Ahad, it changes the situation and the plan of Ma'mun completely. And this is why Ma'mun had to kill Imam Rida. You see, Ma'mun was planning that when he said, "Imam Rida, you're the Wali Ahad," then people will want to get rid of Imam Rida because he's a zalim now. But what Ma'mun recognized was that when he said, "Imam Rida is my Wali Ahad, is my successor," now he saw the look in the faces of the people around him change. That now they started saying, "Well, when can we get you out of the way so that this guy can come on the job? How fast can we get rid of Ma'mun so that Imam Rida can accept the job?" And Ma'mun began to see that all around him, in the eyes of the people around him, he can see it, that they want to kill him. They want to move him from the situation so that Imam Rida can come on the job and be the Khalifa. Because you've made him Wali Ahad. That means the sooner we get you out of the way, the quicker he can become the leader. And the reason, you see, they give different examples. And one of the things that they say that we read in these books, we read that they say that Ma'mun was jealous of Imam Rida, and that's why he gave him poison to eat in his grapes. And that's why he was killed, because Ma'mun was jealous. When we hear this, we say, like what? Jealousy, like what we feel? Like, I'm jealous, this guy has a nicer car than me. I'm jealous, this guy has a fatter wallet than me. I don't know. I'm jealous. And we think, like, Ma'mun is jealous like us? No. Ma'mun noticed that the people would rather to have Imam Rida ruling over them than to have him. And so it puts him in a position that the longer I keep this man as my Wali Ahad, my life becomes more and more in danger. My life becomes more in danger. We just mentioned to you, many followers of Ahlul Bayt had infiltrated the government of Bani Abbas. So you've got spies, potential spies everywhere. And Ma'mun is now faced with the position that instead of announcing Imam Rida as his successor and making Imam Rida look bad, He has announced Imam Rida as his successor. He makes himself look bad,